Hey guys, so today we're going to do lessons 9 and 10, adding and subtracting decimals. And adding and subtracting decimals takes a lot of the knowledge that you already have about decimals and place value and moving them by tens and hundreds and multiplying and dividing them. And now you're going to just add and subtract some of them together. So you all have in your binders a template that looks like this. It actually was back in lesson 7, but we didn't end up using it then. So if pulling this out would help you, please feel free. But I bet as I show you how to do this, you won't even need it. So I'm going to give you some examples of how to add and subtract decimals using your place value chart and then also doing it without your place value chart. So if I decide that I'm going to use my place value chart here, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have a problem. And the first problem that we're going to do together is going to be 3/10 plus 4/10. Now, you might be thinking, Mrs. Montgomery, I've got this already. I already know how to add that. But sometimes they get a little trickier, so I'm going to show you. So if I decide that I'm going to add 3/10 plus 4/10, the most important thing is to make sure that I've got my decimal point in the right spot. So if I have 3/10 and 4/10, and I add these two numbers together, I would add them just like I would add any other number. 3 plus 4 gives me 7. 7/10, okay? Now, if you decide that you do not want to use your place value chart, that is 100% okay. However, the most important thing to remember is that your decimal points must always line up. So you messy Jessies out there, this is where you are going to start running into problems. So I recommend, if you are somebody that you struggle with your handwriting just a tiny bit, I want you to get out one of these lovely things. This piece of graph paper can help you tremendously because these decimal points need to be lined up just like they are in the chart. Now, if you're thinking, Mrs. Montgomery, I don't need a piece of graph paper to keep things lined up, then that's fine. You don't have to use a piece of graph paper, but just know that that's always there for you to use if you want it. So if I was just going to do it on a piece of regular notebook paper, I would just take 3/10 and 4/10. I would add them together. Okay? So my decimal points are always in a perfect line. Now, things are not going to be as simple as 3/10 plus 4/10 all the time. You're going to have larger numbers. So, for example, and you're not going to have this one in front of you because this is the homework, and I did not give you guys the homework. So don't go looking for this, okay? So if I decide that I'm going to do this problem down here, I'm going to do 2 4/100 plus 7/100, okay? I would need to write this out, and I would need to make sure that my decimal points are lined up. You see how I lined those decimal points up perfectly? Yes, Mrs. Montgomery, we saw. Okay, so you're going to carry your decimal point straight down because that's where it belongs. And all you are going to do is you are going to add these numbers just as you would add them in any other scenario, okay? So when I add 7 plus 4, that gives me 11. Now, obviously, 11 is not going to fit here. So just like in any other addition problem, I'm going to put down my 1 and I'm going to carry my 1. I'm now going to add 1 plus 0, which of course gives me 1. And then I'm going to go over here to the ones place and I'm going to add 2 plus 0, which gives me 2. So my number is now 2 11/100, okay? So if I come down here to problem D, I have 56 4/100 and 3 7/100. So again, the most important thing to remember is to have these lined up, okay? So if it helps you to put this decimal point in here first before you write the number, please do that, okay? So I have a 3 and 7/100. Notice how all my numbers are lined up. Okay, they don't have to be perfect, but they need to be pretty close. So same thing here, 4 plus 7, carry my 1. 6 plus 3 gives me 9, and I bring my 5 down. So 59 and 11/100, okay? Now, sometimes your numbers, oops, I don't want to do that one, all right, sometimes your numbers are not the same number of digits long. So this one is 5 digits long, 72 and 564 thousandths. And this one's 4 digits long, 5 and 137 thousandths. But again, the most important thing is to line up your decimal points. 72.564 and 5.137. And I'm adding these numbers together, okay? So it does the exact same thing. If you end up with a number that needs to carry from the tenths to the ones place, okay, so from here to here, you would just carry like you would carry any other number. So let's take a quick look at one like that. If I had a number that was 31 and 744 thousandths, and I'm going to add 9 and 793 thousandths, I would do, whoops, sorry, you couldn't see that. You would add these just like you would do any other addition problem. So my decimal points are lined up. I would start from the right and I would just start adding across, okay? So 4 plus 3 is 7. 9 plus 4 is 13. I'm going to carry my 1. 7 and 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15. Now here's where you need to remember that your decimal point has to stay right where they are, all lined up, okay? So 7 and 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15. My 1 gets carried over to the ones place. 9 and 1 is 10 plus 1 is 11. And there you have it. 41 and 537 thousandths, okay? So I'm going to show you a couple that are subtracting too. Now, just like with the addition, this is the homework page. You don't have this one. I'm just using these pages to give you some examples. So you are going to do the exact same thing with subtracting as you are with addition, except for you're subtracting instead of adding. So I'm going to jump all the way down here, and I'm going to jump to problem D, and I have 5 and 182 thousandths minus 9 hundredths, okay? So I have to set this problem up just like I set up my other ones. Decimal points are lined up. Now, here is a little trick. If I were you, I would not like this just hanging out here open, okay? That would make it a little bit difficult for me. So I would much rather fill in with my pencil a 0, okay? Yes, it's invisible, but it just helps you when you're doing the subtraction. Same thing with the addition if you want. Okay, so now I know that my numbers are lined up because I filled in this placeholder. So it's helping me keep all of my digits in line. So 2 minus 0, of course, gives me 2. And then you cannot subtract 9 from 8, right? So I have to borrow. This is going to give me 9, a 0, and a 5, okay? So I get 5 and 92 thousandths. So on your work, you are always allowed to fill in any sort of placeholders that are helpful to you, okay? So like letter F right here, I have 741. So that's a whole number. So I know in this whole number that of course my decimal point is back here, right? That hopefully makes sense to everybody. So I'm subtracting 3 91 thousandths. Now, it's important that I keep my decimal points lined up. So if I line them up, it ends up looking like this. So I would not want to solve this problem as it is right now because it's kind of confusing. Your decimal points are lined up, which is the most important thing, but there's all of these empty holes in your problem, which make it a little bit harder to see. So if it was me, I would go through and I would fill in zeros here. I would also go through and fill in zeros here, okay? That helps me know that all of my numbers are perfectly lined up and I'm not going to make a silly mistake because my digits are in the wrong spot, okay? So once I have everything all lined up, I can go ahead and start the subtraction. So what you will have in front of you today is you will have Lesson 9 Sprint. I want you to skip that. And you will also have Lesson 9 Problem Set. It's going to look something like this, okay? So if you look at letter A, you are going to have 1/10 plus 2/10. So it's in word form right now. It wants you to solve it and then write the sum in standard form. So if I have 1/10 plus 2/10, I'm gonna line it up, right? Decimal point 1 plus decimal point 2, 1/10 plus 2/10 gives me 3/10. So I can go ahead and I can write 3 here, 3/10 equals, and then I'm gonna write it what it looks like. Decimal point 3.